Okay, well, I believe we have everyone. It's 7:31, so we'll call the meeting to order. Thank you to Jim for making these arrangements and everybody for taking the time to try to do this a little bit differently. This meeting is being recorded, and this does meet all the kind of criteria of an advertised public meeting because all due diligence was made to invite the public, so anyone can join us. So we'll just conduct our normal meeting and hopefully not have too many technological difficulties. The minutes of the March meeting were on the Google Drive. Did everybody have a chance to read through those? And if so,
Yeah.
Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Do we want to review the action items?
Yeah, you want to do that? We can approve it
Okay.
first, and then we can do
Sure,
that?
that'd be great.
Or do you want to do it the other way? Yeah.
I think it's appropriate to review the action items first quickly. It won't take.
Okay. So
I'm just
Cynthia,
gonna
do
read
you
what it
want to,
said.
Cynthia, can you review the action items?
No problem. We said that the items, the stonemason estimate and the marked Kenilworth tree estimate will remain on the agenda. So I didn't look to see if they are on this one. Are they? Okay.
The trees are, the stonemason is not, but we haven't gotten any estimates yet.
Okay. So we'll keep that on for next time. I skipped the one that I said I'd do. I sent that letter earlier on. Sorry, that was the OSRB recommended a letter of support and we retyped it and sent it out. Jay Erb will email Denise Steele to include a remark that identifies the anticipated increase in park usage due to the Riverbend Playground.
Yes, I just communicated with Denise on that.
Good. And Carl will coordinate with the township engineer for the replacement of the Fernbrook cabin roofs, or whether or not that was necessary. Is Carl here?
No.
Okay, I guess that ought to stay put then. We'll have to add that on. You talked about chipping the piles of slash. I think we had a few emails on that one, Jay.
I cleaned up a little bit around the Oaks cabin, but nothing is only what I cleaned up.
Okay, so it said the number 3 was about clearing the slash from around the cabins, and it says Jay Erb will speak with John McKee about chipping the piles of slash. I know you sent an email about that, so that's.
Yes, the road crew, Public Works is only working
Right.
3-man crews right now, so that's probably not the highest thing on their priority list till they get back to full staffing. But John is aware of it.
That's awesome. Vince needed. I guess I can skip that, right, Vince? About the April 4th thing. I'm assuming skipping that?
Yep, it's been postponed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the erosion, we were supposed to inspect some erosion at Kenilworth Park, so hopefully everybody got a chance to go do that. And the last was about the Hanover Meadows ribbon cutting, so that's on hold as well. That's all she wrote.
Is there a motion to approve the March minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Okay, I believe the minutes are approved. Okay, Kelly sent out the financial summary prior to the meeting. Are there any questions or comments on the financial summary?
Hey, I noticed that John, he tents for Coventry Woods. Wasn't that for the festival?
Yes.
Yeah,
Shouldn't that be charged against the festival?
yeah.
It is. It will be. I guess when Kelly puts it on, the income goes into one line item, which is all the sponsorships. and it has to come out of an outgoing line item. And she has an adjustment that we just don't see the details. So the tents did come out of sponsor money, but in the summary we got, we just don't have those details.
Can you say that again? What came out of the summary? What came out of the money?
There were two canopy type tents
Tent.
purchased at the
Okay, thank
festival.
you. Okay.
So it came out of sponsor money, but the details don't show all that on the summary.
I thought,
Thank you.
I'm kind of with Vince on this one. I thought we had talked about having separate accounting for the festival, both income and expenditure.
Apparently there is. I don't want to speak for, I can't speak for, exactly how the line items are done.
Well, we can add, just because there's a code. So I thought she had a code in there before. It just looked like she just posted it to the general Coventry Woods, but it's not a big deal. She can move. She used to have a line item for expenses. So
For the festival.
yeah, for
Yeah,
the festival.
Yeah, I thought so too, Vince.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments regarding the summary?
I have a question about the M&M tree service at Kenilworth. Was that for what's pending, or was that other work that was done?
No, it was actually an error, and it is for what is pending.
So has that been paid? Because the work has not been done.
Correct. It was an
work has not-
error. Kelly is aware. She caught it, and it needs to be, either the work needs to be done or it has to be corrected.
Okay, because we have not approved the work.
Kelly was also asking about the $500 from the River Bend. Should we just take that out, the allotment, and put it into the general fund?
The 5,000, yeah.
5,000, correct.
Yes, the playground money is allotted for playgrounds, so we're purchasing the equipment. It needs to be transferred, I think, from that point.
Right. She was looking for a response on her email. Jay, will you let her know, or
Sure.
so she can take it out of the 120.1 and put it into the 130. Or no, she'll put it in the regular checking. That's what she'll do, which is 120. Yep.
Okay. I'll make sure she's aware of that. Okay. Any other questions or comments on the financial summary?
No.
Okay, we'll move on then to the Pottstown Area Regional Recreation Committee. Michael Lane submitted a full application for the Pottstown Health and Wellness Grant to complete the engineering for the Schuylkill River Trail, Kenilworth Trailhead. Kevin did schedule a site meeting with McMahon Associates, but it was canceled due to the COVID pandemic. So the grant paperwork has been filed. And we'll table the discussions. We talked last month about 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year projects for the regional parks. There's no urgency in that because those meetings have been canceled until further notice. So we can just table that because we really haven't had any discussions at this point anyway. Any other questions or comments regarding the regional parks?
No.
Hey, so Cynthia, watching your notes, the money comes out of the savings into the checking. You have it the other way around. Playground funds to be transferred to the savings. So playground funds should be transferred to the regular checking account. Are you typing that?
I'm sorry, I got disconnected. Sorry about that. So you're gonna have to say that one again.
Yeah, I thought you were typing in the minutes and you had the money going into the savings.
Yeah, are you answering me? Thanks.
Yeah, yeah.
What did you want me to switch it to?
It goes into the regular checking.
Thanks.
Okay. Open Space Review Board report. John, note there was no meeting. There is no Open Space Review Board report. So we'll move on to the deer management. John Elwanger, would you like to report on the deer
Yeah,
management?
yeah, in our meeting, which was right before the, I guess, the big bombshell hit, yeah, we came up with two things, basically. The fact that for this coming season, we're going to be reducing the number of hunters, basically going from one hunter for every 11 acres to one hunter for every 17, 18 acres. That was the first item. Second item, there were quite a few people who got permits but never logged any time in hunting. So we kind of agree that since the policy is that you log in, out, and do your time, and it's says in the document about trying to get 10 hours into the park. Well, we came up with the proposal that since they didn't follow the reg, I haven't been able to contact everyone or haven't heard back from everyone if they forgot or whatever happened for whatever reason. They didn't log any time in. So if they apply this year, we're just going to not accept their application. We're going to take a year's vacation from deer hunting.
Okay.
Another year. Because apparently they took a vacation this year.
Yeah, apparently. Now, yeah, I know things were a little quite slow this year compared to the past, but they were still made by putting in the application. You're like anything else. Yeah, you're making a commitment to go out in the park, and you're our eyes and ears, especially sitting up in that tree. So yeah, I think it's the right thing to do.
I agree.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, John. Are there any
If everyone
questions?
agrees, that's what we're gonna put that in the document, and for this coming season, so that when they do pull that document, and if they do read the whole document, they'll see, oh geez, I can't really, they're not going to accept my application. So if everyone agrees, that's what we'll do, and have that document ready for next meeting for authorization to give to the supervisors.
Would you be able to send it out to everyone electronically to look at in advance prior to the meeting?
Yeah, after next Wednesday's meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you, John. Okay, any other questions or comments regarding the deer management? Okay, if not, we'll move on then to the park calendar and special activity permits. The town tour and village walks program scheduled for July, and the Delaware Valley Orienteering Association program scheduled for March have both been postponed till 2021. I'm sure we'll have numerous scheduling changes, but those are the ones we know about to date. Okay. We'll also probably have some changes in the athletic facility reservations. Denise is working from home. The township office is formally closed. She doesn't have access to all the reservation information from home, but as soon as she gets back to the office, she's going to address scheduling cancellations and see where that has to go. And there may be refunds or some changes to that scheduling calendar as well.
Hey, can I just make one comment about the scheduling?
Oh,
You went silent, Cynthia.
I think it's her connection. She's
And
frozen.
continue paying. Otherwise, you can defer your payment so that you can join the next one. But I just want to say that because I imagine they're going to ask for a refund because they're not using Kenilworth, but they are still charging a lot of people who.
Cynthia, if you can hear me, your audio is cut out.
Sorry, y'all. I don't know why I got kicked off. How much of that did you hear?
Very little.
He said hello, I think.
Hey. So all I was saying is that the Healthy Kids Running Series that was scheduled to start on the 29th, which is last Sunday, is not, so to speak, canceled. The group suggested that you do a virtual run and I already made my payment, for example, for my kids to do it, and they want us to do a virtual run, and then you get a t-shirt or whatever. I deferred my payment to save it till the fall, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that there's still, there's some people who are still paying the Healthy Kids Running Series. So we will probably give them a refund, but I think it's important that we kind of have that knowledge.
Okay, maybe that's something that just needs to be addressed in more detail.
Well, are we just, are we just refunding anyone that wants to refund?
I don't know that any decisions have been made how that's going to be. We don't have any of the data of what monies. I guess those are a lot of many unknowns.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I got kicked off again. So if someone asked me something, I didn't answer you. So I didn't hear it.
I think, Cynthia, probably what we need to do is just address that, whether we're giving a refund or just postponing that payment toward another date.
Mm-hmm.
That's just another question that'll have to be addressed.
Yeah, right. And like I said, I just wanted to say it to the group because, they didn't cancel it, so to speak.
Right.
Is that a decision that we need to make, or is that made by the township, like by the township manager or by, I know it's unprecedented, so.
I would think it would come from a recommendation from Parks and Rec to the board. So I think it has to originate with you guys.
I would personally be a little apprehensive at making a recommendation yet because we really haven't addressed what the questions are, how much money, we haven't talked to them. I would suggest having some discussions, see what they're planning to do in a following season, and maybe we can just kind of move things forward. But I don't know that we're prepared to make a decision right now, personally.
Okay, but we don't expect Kelly just to simply write them a check for the refund. So they'll make a request and then we can take it up via email or through our meetings.
Right, I think it would have to be addressed.
Okay.
I think Kelly's at our meeting. Kelly, is that you?
I'm here.
There she is. So if you have questions for Kelly, she's online.
I'm here.
Hello, Kelly. Thank you for joining us.
Sure thing.
I have a question. It's Colleen. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Did you say
Can you
this is a
hear me?
question for me?
I just have a question. The money that's coming in for the Healthy Kids Running Series, that's going to North Coventry Township?
Yeah, it's
Are we the
going
ones
into
who
the
would need-
Parks and Rec account.
Okay, that's what I was trying to ask, but I didn't know I was muted. So that's what I'm asking now. Okay. All right. So that has to be discussed before sending anything out to anybody else as to what we're going to be doing because it hasn't officially been canceled. Because they're suggesting you can do a virtual run, correct?
Yeah, right.
Jay,
Okay.
isn't that just a special activities agreement you said? Like they didn't pay a fee, it's like soccer or?
Yeah, they're an SAP, I believe.
So they didn't really pay a fee, so they're not really an issue.
Yeah, they're paying a fee
Oh, okay.
for the SAP, yes.
Just for that, but not like Coventry Soccer is probably paying a substantial amount of money for spring field usage.
Right. So the athletic facility rentals would go by the hours of use, where the Healthy Kids Running Series is by a special activity permit for the event. So they're
Vince,
kind of handled a little bit differently.
you're a lot faster at this than I am. Can you look back and see what they were charged for the SAP?
Yeah, I can, but I think that the simple question is, and it goes since Kelly's on, is that we're not going to refund any money. If someone asks for the refund, we'll take it up as under advisement to the committee here, and we can determine at that point if we want to how to refund the money.
I agree.
I won't write any
And
checks without approval.
Yeah. So
And that would be refunded for, you're talking about just the SAP, or did they have to pay for a T-shirt? Did they have to pay per run, or is just the SAP?
Well, and Colleen, again, I'm just mentioning this just so that we know that they're still offering a run. I think
Right.
they're sending a T-shirt or anything. That was just kind of an intro to say like, hey, what are we doing about all these things that are scheduled? Are we
Okay.
doing anything or not? That's just that I know that because my kids are signed up, I knew that they're offering a virtual run. So I didn't know if they
Okay.
want their money back or not, but I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Mhm.
I'm good now.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments regarding the park schedule or special activities permits? I'm sure there'll be 100 more, but are there any more at the moment?
No.
Okay, we'll move on to the volunteer hours. So far, mine is the only one listed.
I'm sorry, there is one more. So we didn't telling Denise to not accept anything, any new reservations, or is there a point, or we didn't have an end date, or are we saying it nothing for the rest of the year?
I don't know that we can make that decision because we're really working off of state and county guidelines.
Until further notice, right?
Right.
So if someone wants to reserve August, September, later in the year, at this point, we're not taking those?
I think we need to wait and see what the state and county guidelines are before anything's decided upon.
Well,
Okay.
a lot of people are planning things, and just like we have something planned for the fall. I think if somebody wants to make those plans, I don't see the harm in making the plans. Yeah, they may not be able to hold the activity, but maybe they can, maybe they can't. I don't see why we shouldn't accept anything.
I agree.
Yeah, I guess we could, put something as a placeholder and have to see how the situation works out. That makes sense.
Yeah, if somebody wants to be up there in November or January, February next year, go for it.
So we can say anything after August, starting in fall, we will take reservations. Anything before that, we'd have to not do anything, or?
Well, it doesn't look so good, anything before, too much before that.
I'm just trying to put some buffer in there, right?
Yeah, I mean,
So.
I don't know if
somebody-
we can make any type of decision on that, on when to accept them after a specific date. Is Jim still there? What does he think?
Yeah,
far as township and what's open.
I'm still here. I think you accept the reservations with the condition that, these can change. We just don't know at this point. Yeah. I mean,
So
if
we
there's,
accept them and,
yeah, I mean, if we're under, if God forbid we're still under a stay at home come July and August, then obviously they'll get postponed. But I think you'd at least take them, and then at this point we're under stay at home till the end of April, and so just take things through the summer and address it as we get closer. And I don't know that there's a real answer here. I think you just take it and figure it out when we get closer.
Yeah,
so
someone
from
put,
May 1st on.
yeah, if someone
May
put
1st
something in for April, yeah, right, you won't accept it.
Right.
May, June, maybe June, it's okay. Who knows?
Are you taking money though without a per se policy of what happens if the event gets canceled?
I mean, it's no different, I mean,
Right.
it's their choice
we would-
to reschedule, or if they don't reschedule it, then give their money back.
Yeah. At this point, I think you would have to do it that way. I mean, that's my opinion.
So, Jay, I guess Denise can take scheduling in, starting May, June, and, with the caveat that it could change. So,
I think we could safely say that once the stay-at-home order is lifted, we can accept reservations knowing that decisions still need to be finalized and the situation could be fluid. Does that make sense?
well,
But you could take reservations at any time. You can't
that's what I was
schedule
gonna
them.
say.
Yeah, can't
Right.
schedule them during the stay at home, but you can take them as they come in.
Now, nobody's in the office. Will they be processed?
That's a good question too. Yeah,
So,
I don't know.
so actually, they can't really send them in until we get the go back to work order.
No, well, they can send them in. Kelly,
Oh, but this
and
won't be
maybe
processed.
Kelly can weigh in. Does Denise come in at all, or is she completely at home? I mean, does she need to pick stuff up, or what? How's that
She
being?
hasn't been in because she has been pretty sick. I'm not sure if she plans on coming in when she feels better. I know Kevin is in there every day, and if there's anything that comes in, he scans it to each of our boxes.
Yeah.
And I've also been going in like at least twice a week. So if anything comes in, I can take care of it too.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
there you go.
so yeah, there you
All
go.
right.
So yeah, there's a drop box or something out front for things, I
Mhm.
believe. So yeah, they'll drop it off there and they'll manage it.
Do you think anything needs to be put up on the website that, that we're accepting them? Okay, you could probably word it better. Well, they will be processed, but until the list is in order, then everything's up in the air. I mean, it would be worded different, but should something be put up on the website to that effect?
I think it's a good idea. If somebody's going to draft something, I'd be glad to post it.
All right, since my mind's not working, who's good with the wording?
I can do that unless somebody else would like to.
Jay, if you want to draft something up, send it to me, and then between the two of us, maybe we can come up with the right wording and then send it to Jim to put on the website.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. We'll move on then to the volunteer hours. At this point, I'm the only one that's put the hours in at 15 for this month. If anyone else has anything, we can try to get to Cynthia after the meeting.
Yeah, Cynthia, I couldn't put mine in. I'm not sure why.
Okay. I don't know either. You want to just tell me? I'll put them in.
I had 16.
Thanks.
Is that for facilities, Patty?
You know, Jay, I'm not breaking it down.
Okay, so you don't want to break it down between the administration, facilities, and programs for a record keeping?
It is my understanding that we've addressed this over and over, that that's not really utilized. The supervisors aren't really interested in that. So it's just another level of paperwork or bookkeeping that I don't do.
Okay, so we won't manage the separation of those strategic plan items then. Okay, we'll move on then to the park maintenance list. Vince, do you have anything to discuss there?
No, hey, so John, I think, are you getting to some of the trees? I know I put them all up on the maintenance list.
We went through, and it seems like a lot of them that you had on the list were already taken care of. So I don't know if Carl did any, but it would be nice if somebody takes care of something, if they let you know, so we're not chasing stuff that's not out there.
I don't think Carl, you're on. I mean, we had an agreement.
I don't know. We went out like 2 weeks ago, and the stuff you had on the list at 3 or 4, we drove the trails and looked for them and couldn't, like, we didn't find them. So I guess one thing too is if we can be more specific, like instead of saying, hey, the Great Oak Trail or here, like, can you give a locate, like a better location, or so we're not, I mean, we don't mind going out to do it. Like, I try to say, hey, we got 3 hours left today here or there. Let's go take care of these trees. But it's nice to know exactly or close where we're at, so we're not driving for a half hour to look for a tree, or if I can just walk in off a spot with a saw and take care of it. That's kind of the issue we're having.
Okay. What can you use lat longs GPS?
If you just, I don't know, like, do we have a trail map or something? Like, hey, here's the spot. Like, mark the trail. Send me the trail map, or. Yeah, we have trail maps, right?
Yeah, last time I went into your office and I showed you. So, but now virtually, it's kind of hard to mark up something.
We took care of those a couple months ago, but recently on your list, there was a few more, like 3 of them we went out to look for.
Right.
We found 1 out of the 3.
Okay.
It just, when somebody gives you to the list, if you can just be a little more specific, like, hey, a quarter mile in from here or there, and then, we're not, some of the trails get pretty long, and,
I got it. I know, because the one
I think we're caught up.
okay, the one in I think Patty had the one in the woods, in the Coventry woods. You took care of that one that was leaning over.
I haven't looked at your list, honestly, in probably about 2 weeks, so I'll take a peek again. And
all right.
but if we just be a little more specific with where they're at. So
You got the one at Fernbrook, you got the one on the Meadow Trail, you got the one on the Furnace Trail.
well, I think someone else did that. Like, we didn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so if someone does it, or if one of the Parks and Records, if somebody does it, they just let Vince know so it comes off the list, so we're not tracking down stuff that's not there.
I don't know who did it.
So I say something, Carl, you're muted, so whatever you say, we can't hear. So I don't know if you have that on purpose or. Yeah. All right.
Oh, he's going for technical assistance from one of us.
I thought maybe I peed him off.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, we'll do that, so, like rain days and stuff. But like I said, if you can just be a little more specific where they're at, so we're not driving like everywhere looking for like 2 trees that are down.
Yeah. All right. We'll do that. That's not a problem. So.
John, while I got you there, at the bottom of the Great Oak Trail, just past the bridge as you're coming in from Fernbrook, there's a huge tree that pulled out of the ground, and it's leaning. I don't know that you can do anything about it.
I don't either. One of our guys took a picture of it and showed me, so I'll have to get out and take it. I don't know if there's much we can do safely with that.
I don't think there is, but I just wanted you to be aware of it.
Hey, Carl, you should have sound. Talk.
I did. Here we go.
There you are.
I did not touch any trees since Vince and I spoke a month and a half or 2 months ago. I have one concern for maintenance. I sent Vince a picture because I didn't put anything on the maintenance thing. The electrical box at the Chestnut Hill access by the pavilion, if you will. What is the deal with that thing? It's hanging on the ground. There's a meter on it. It's a big metal box. Is that live? What's going on with that? It's basically on the ground almost.
It's live to the box. Kevin was supposed to be working with Pico to get that disconnected at the pole because there's no use for it.
Okay.
I don't know the status of that. I know the way with some of our properties, the way Pico bills it, it's hard to find like the actual address or the service number with Pico, but that was on Kevin's to-do list. So
Okay, cool.
I'll follow up with him.
It just looks really hazardous. That's
It's
all.
been on there for a while. So
Okay. That's all I have to say right now.
Okay. If there's no other comments regarding the park maintenance list, we'll move on.
Yeah. Brother was up, looked at the chimney at Hill Camp and said that waiting for one thing, and I believe I asked Barry to take a overhead picture of it, of the top of the chimney. Barry?
Barry, are you with us?
Barry, you're muted yet.
yeah.
We see you.
How about now?
There you
Yeah,
go.
I'll go and get a picture of it.
Yeah, get a picture of it, but he can't see that going too much, somewhere under $1,000 to fix it up a little bit.
John, I have pictures of the top of that.
Yeah, but he'd like to see a picture of the top before he makes a formal proposal.
I think
I have-
somebody does have pictures.
I do have pictures of that, John. I can send them to you.
At the top of the,
Yes.
okay.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Did you get them? I didn't send them yet. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
One thing with the park list that Vince has going, like the items on there are good to go. Or I'm just asking because I know there was confusion about, hey, there's a list going out, but we're good to, like, items I see on the list, I'm good to go with these items, or?
Yes, I'd assume so.
Can we review it and over the next month or get it cleaned up? Because I know the Kenworth trees are on there. There's other things on there that haven't been approved. I would like utilizing that list. I like things going on the list that way rather than, hey, do this, do that. Or when I'm out working, I'm not writing things down. So an email with, hey, updated the list here, and I'll send Vince stuff when it's done. But we're good to go. I just want to know that we're good to go. The work that's on that list.
So you're saying that nothing should go on that list that hasn't been approved to actually get done?
I don't know.
Not a
your
suggest-
list. It's the parks. It's your list. So you tell me how you want me to utilize that list.
Can we add a list?
Figure out
of
how you're going to
things?
use that.
Can we add a list of things that are approved, and the current list is just things that we see that have to be on there, and then we make another list of, that's John's list.
No, we don't need another list. Sorry, Carl. Listen, guys, we'll do a separate session on the list, on the maintenance project list. We have a priority. If it's set to zero says for review. So John, if there's a 0 there under it, you don't do anything with it because it needs to be reviewed. But anything other than a 0, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, or 4, which means that somehow we all spoke about it and it's available to be done. And this is the maintenance list that we're talking about.
Thank you, Vince, for that clarification.
But do we have a process in place that specifies that?
You send me right now, I get an email from somebody and I add it. You guys all have access, but no one seems to want to do it. So.
But who sets priority?
When something new gets on the list, we set it to 0
Right.
till we have a chance to talk about it.
Okay.
So that's why that was the first thing when Jay asked me, what do we have to cover? And there's nothing new to add it to it other than trees that are already fallen down. Trees that are already fallen down, we don't need a review. We just need to tell it's taken care of.
So Vince, just to be clear on the minutes, I just typed that a priority of 0 has not yet been reviewed, so shouldn't be completed. Is everything else should be completed, or should it only be the number 4s?
If there's a 0, John should just ignore it because it means we haven't had a chance to talk about it.
And any other number he's allowed to move on?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So Vince, once again, I will certainly go back. I do look at the list with some regularity. We've had this discussion a number of times. I can't get on. I don't know why, which is why I just continue to send you small items that
That's okay. That's okay. I'm taking the emails. I know. I mean, I've gotten several emails. I just enter them in. So if you got a picture, I'll attach a picture to the project. So.
Were you able to do that with all the photos that I sent the last time?
I can only do one. So I'm only adding one of the pictures, not a whole bunch.
One picture per project.
Yes, correct. So maybe I can set up another session. We can do Zoom and we can walk through the whole program again if you guys like. So.
Yes, I like that. All right.
All right, Jake.
Okay, thank you, Vince. Okay, there was a Southeastern PA Spotted Lanternfly Task Force meeting today. Actually, some new research was introduced from Penn State Extension. There is now 8 known different plant species that will host first instar through adult stages, which is somewhat disturbing in the sense that part of the hope was that Ailanthus was the only one. There could be more, but so far it's been proven that they've gone through all life stages on 8 different species. There's a new priority for control of invasive oriental bittersweet. That's one of those 8. Apparently they just seem to like that. So there's a new priority to control that species. They're also looking at, from the realm of public education, introducing an integrated pest management pyramid, similar to what you might see with the food pyramid, using cultural, physical, biological, and chemical controls. There's a lot of confusion with the public and some public agencies as to how to control things. So that's one of the directions they're going from the education. And there's some more detailed recommendations regarding the treatment of Ailanthus, depending on the time of year. The imidacloprid moving up a little bit earlier in the calendar, and dinotephran a little bit later in the calendar. That's something we could talk to Steve about to make sure that he's comfortable if he's doing any treatment. They're also talking about USDA proposing some web training for municipal park and rec organizations to help better understand those best management practices. And they'd like to do that through web hosting so that it could be done during the social isolation. Any other questions on spotted lanternfly?
Hey, Jay, it's John Worth.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
I saw that.
Last year, the first eggs to hatch were in the Reading area and documented on like April 25th. So we probably have another month or so to try and get rid of egg masses. And then, by May, we're going to be moving through that calendar.
So Jay, my question is based on what you learned at the seminar today. One of the issues is that sometimes these plants that they live on and they can feed on don't necessarily support them through lying viable egg masses. So that's one of the things I was wondering, are these plants supporting them really through all of the life cycle so that the adults can lay viable egg masses that then hatch out? Because I know a couple of years ago, based on Penn State research, they thought only the Ailanthus would support them, all the way through the life cycle.
So I believe there's a slide. The viable egg masses were, and these were in their test units. There would be, I think the number was 49 viable egg masses with Ailanthus and 6 without the Ailanthus. So
Okay.
yes, they did go through that stage, but when there was no Ailanthus, there was also a much lower egg viability.
So they were successful, but not as successful.
Correct.
All
I
right.
think with the ones that had access to both other species and Ailanthus, they hatched, forget how, I'd have to look up that information again, but they hatched 6.5 days earlier.
Mhm.
So there is somewhat of a biological difference when they have Ailanthus and don't.
Yeah. Okay.
Ailanthus does still seem to be a key, but it's not that 100% key.
Okay. Hey, I have a favor to ask. I mean, I think I've asked before, but when it comes to anything around spotted lanternfly, I mean, the EAC would love to help you with this. I had no idea this webinar was happening. So in the future, when you hear about things like that, please share them. I've been trying to keep up with the literature on the Ailanthus tree as well as the spotted lanternfly. So if you could share that when you find out about it, be greatly appreciated, and I think we'll be able to better help you from EAC.
Yeah, actually, this wasn't a webinar. This was the Spotted Lanternfly Task Force. So it's United States Department of Agriculture, Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture, PennDOT, Conservation District, Montgomery County Parks, Chester County Parks, DCNR. There was like 8 different agencies. I was just representing Chester County Parks. So it was normally a physical meeting. Today it was done as a virtual meeting.
Gotcha. So this wasn't open to the
It
public.
wasn't a public thing. It was just
Gotcha.
8
Okay.
agencies getting together.
Yeah. Any information you can share, I'd certainly appreciate it, Jay. Thanks.
Certainly. And actually, that was one of the discussions when we talked about USDA wanting to, and Penn State Extension certainly was all in favor of that as well, having training for municipalities. They're looking for people to kind of shepherd them, give them some ideas. So if you have some ideas or thoughts, get them to me and I'll forward it to those folks from Penn State Extension and USDA about how they're looking for recommendations of how they can communicate with the public and different public agencies. So, let me know and I'll pass that on to them.
Will do.
Thank you. Okay, anything else regarding spotted lanternfly? Okay. Coventry Trail, there's no reports. Coventry Woods, the Boy Scout service project for March 14th was canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And Vince also replaced the screech owl box on the Pigeon Creek Trail, which is also one of the educational stations. So thank you for doing that, Vince.
That was myself and Barry. So
thank you, Barry.
If you're bored, the screech owl box up at the very top was at the base of the tree and broken into. So there's another screech owl box that needs replacing. And if anyone's bored, all 6 of the Bluebird boxes at Coventry Woods will need to be replaced next year. So anybody have time on their hands? Want to build some Bluebird boxes?
I'll build them.
Thank you, Carl.
6 is the
6.
total number.
Yep.
Okay.
6.
All right.
Okay. Is there anything else for Coventry Woods? Okay, we'll move on to Hanover Meadows. The entrance sign was ordered on March 12th. The sign that was approved by the Board of Supervisors was a $3,126 sign. However, when John did the final measurements for location, it was decided that we needed a single-sided rather than double-sided sign, which will make it a good bit less expensive. Okay, we also got some concerns into the township office regarding bicycles on the Hanover Meadows Trail. This trail, due to the trail width and the sharp curves, probably not safe trail for both pedestrian and bicycle use. And in the grant paperwork, refers to the trail as a walking trail. I think for public safety, we should probably designate this as a pedestrian-only trail and install appropriate signage. Any thoughts on that?
Good idea.
Okay, do you want to make a motion to?
Now,
designate-
I have a question. Does that apply to like little kids on tricycles? Or, you know, if mom's got a stroller and a kid on a big wheel or a
Why,
tricycle?
have you seen someone like that on there?
Yeah, yeah, I have seen people like that on there. A mom with 2 or 3 kids.
I think, hopefully common sense will prevail. Ordinances usually aren't written or rules aren't written to say, if you're, I don't think we want to get into if you're over 48 inches high and have more than 2 wheels or, it's a bicycle, not allowed. And what if there's a little child learning to ride and it's safe to do so? I think hopefully common sense will prevail.
So, how many complaints came in? Is this just in the past month since people have started using it and the weather's nicer?
Yes.
I mean, is this just one complaint that came in that somebody said, or are we talking numerous, 5, 6, 7?
I don't know. I didn't talk to any of those folks personally.
Who'd this come from?
From Kevin.
Okay. I don't want to take up a lot of time, but do we know specifically what the complaints were? Just that they were riding the bikes fast and felt that it was a little dangerous for them walking and with little kids?
I believe so.
So
And
we
again,
don't really know.
Best management practice, that
Okay.
trail is not appropriate for bicycles.
Okay.
Well, it's not appropriate. Rollerblading, skateboarding, bicycles.
Probably correct on all those counts.
Is the problem there just because there's so many people in the trail right now? Should we do it like temporarily? Don't know.
I know before it was black, before the hard surface was put in, that was a nice cross-country trail.
I can hit
Skating
that.
trail.
I can hit that trail and not run into anybody sometimes. But right now, I'm sure it's crowded.
Yeah.
So
So we could simply put a sign that says pedestrian trail only. And then, like you said, Jay, hopefully, common sense will prevail. And the mom with the little kid on the tricycle as she's pushing her stroller isn't going to be running down somebody using the trail, walking or running. Don't you think?
Yes.
Do we have anything at Kenilworth?
I think Kenilworth falls into the same category. The concerns that Kevin took in the office were regarding Hanover Meadows, but I think both trails fall into the same category when you look at the the curves and the width. They're both the same type of trail.
But we don't have any
Favor
signs of
doing
Kenilworth.
something on both trails.
Right. But we don't have any signs of Kenilworth today.
We do not now.
Yeah.
No, I remember discussing this before because I was kind of against it. Because just because so many of the kids, you know, being with parents in this area do ride their bikes on that trail down at Kenilworth. So, I mean, I see that a lot. So I really didn't think about putting a sign up saying that they weren't allowed was right.
Well, then why is it right at Hanover Meadows?
Yeah, I'm not in favor of it. I mean, I'm there all the time. I don't see, you know, big kids. I see small kids riding bikes. But
And it might be dangerous now because of the amount of people on the trail. So again, could it be
It's-
temporary?
it's not that busy, Stephen. Doesn't, you know, regardless, I don't see to temporarily put, you know, on there. Little kids are just out riding around.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with Colleen on this. I would like to know more specifics about the complaints. You know, I mean, it could be teenagers carrying around, or it could be crotchety old people. I don't know.
Excuse me?
Present company accepted.
She was talking about me being crotchety, not you, John.
Maybe
Yeah, because my question was, can I get my scooter out on that trail?
Yes, as far as state law goes, if you have paperwork for
Paperwork.
well, if you have paperwork for having a disability, just like a license plate for your car, you can use any type of a scooter. If you just want to use a scooter because it's fun to ride, then no, you can't.
So
That's been well diagnosed in case law.
I can see this being, and I remember, a little bit more than maybe a 5-minute discussion. So can this be tabled till maybe next meeting when we can all have time to actually discuss this, put it on the agenda and discuss it? Leave maybe 20 minutes, 10 minutes to talk about it?
You can certainly do that. All things come down to if there's a injury, it comes down to civil law, both the township and between the person's injured and person's causing the injury. So it can be tabled and not discussed. It can be ignored. It'll all come down to civil law if something happens.
Well, it's been
Make it-
coming down to that for all the other parks so far that don't have a sign up, so I
And
can't
if nothing
see.
happens, then there's no civil law to worry about. So yes.
I just want to. I don't know that if you voted now to take bikes off the trail, that our sign manufacturer is actually open right now to get signs. So you might have time on this.
Always the practical one, John.
Well, Jay and I talked about some of the park rules and different things before, so this might be a time, like, we don't have anything that says no drones. That's in the ordinance now. So this might be a time to clean up all our signage so we can have one sign instead of maybe add another sign.
Yeah.
Instead of cluttering the park with signs, let's get one sign or with all the rules, or do what we need to do instead of, we add this one, where we can have one sign that says everything we needed to say.
Okay, well, we'll table this discussion and we can worry about signage at a later date.
Hey Jay, can you ask Kevin a little bit more about that complaint, or how many there were? That sounds like that's what people wanted to know. Is that
Yes.
possible?
I'll make a note to talk to Kevin.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on to Kenilworth Park. The Boy Scouts Day of Service planned for April 4th was postponed until fall due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Also, Jimmy Parker from Troop Number 95 completed the installation of 9 benches on the disc golf course as part of his Eagle project. We have a second Eagle project, Andy LaGreca, also from Troop 95, is scheduled to install 9 more benches for the other holes. The timeline for this project is pushed back due to the COVID-19. So
Hey,
he's not going to.
Jimmy's from 127. If I gave you 95, it's my fault, Jay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vince.
Yeah.
Was he the fellow who was lacking funds, Vince?
No, that's Andy.
Has that been taken care of or no?
We haven't had any meetings, so I don't think I don't know. I don't have an answer.
All right, keep me in the loop, please.
Yep.
Okay, and the last thing for Kenilworth, there's 2 trees marked for removal and 2 trees for pruning to remove potential hazards. Did anybody have a chance that had questions to go out and look at those trees?
Was the first,
I did.
sorry, Jay, was the first one on the, is it Park Avenue? I forget, sorry, what the street name is, but where there's like 5 together. That first one, I think you said it looked pretty bad, but you weren't thinking of removing that one yet, were you? Or
Yes.
You? Okay.
The closest one to the parking lot.
Right, right.
I think till you cut the dead out, you're going to have a fraction of a tree, and the tree is definitely on its way out. It's not, for the money that's being spent to trim it, that money is going to be spent again in the near future to take it down, because it's been in a steady decline for the past 10 years, and it's just getting to the point of being a hazard now. The other trees, I think, the other 2 in that row just have a few branches in them that are hazards, but the trees, I think, are still showing relatively good health in general.
Jay, he was going to take the dead stuff out there, like the next 4 going down through. There were dead leaders and some of the other ones. So remove the first one off of Circle Boulevard, and then the dead stuff in the next 4.
Yes, and then there's a spruce up by Brown Street too.
Right.
It's dead.
So those 2 would come down, and then the dead leaders coming out of the other ones. I think there were 4 total. He was gonna remove the dead leaders out of.
So it wasn't just the 2; it was going to be 3
Yeah.
or 3 others. There's 3 others in that row.
3 or 4, yeah.
Okay, so again, I've been out there 4 times. I did happen to run into John one time, and he pointed out 2 of the pin oaks plus a maple that hadn't been discussed and wasn't on the bid as written. The bid specifically said oaks. Every time I've been out there, they have not been marked for clarity. So my issue is not necessarily with getting the work done. My issue is I continue to ask that these trees be marked so that we all know exactly what we're talking about. And I don't understand why they're not getting marked.
The one time I went out there with paint, the spruce tree is marked.
The spruce tree is marked, yes.
Paint can stopped working when I got to the other pin oak. Paint can didn't work anymore. There was still paint in it. I shook it, but it didn't work. And I didn't buy another can of paint.
So then on number 4, I should write 1 tree has been marked for removal, right? Just so that I do it right?
If you call a red dot physically marking, yes. The quote that John got was to remove 2 of them.
All right, so the quote from, we're talking about the quote from M&M. Is that correct? The $3,700 quote
Yes.
that was in, which is handwritten. It says Kenilworth remove dead evergreen. Then it says limb on oak, and there's nothing there. Prune 4 trees along road, make safe. Remove first oak. That's very different. So I don't know limb on oak, what that means. I don't know the 4 trees along the road. I mean, I don't understand why this is so difficult to tie a ribbon around them and send an email saying they're marked. The ribbon will be up for a week. Go look at it. This started back in January. And, you know, I have emails that I sent back in early February asking for these to be marked. So I'm sorry to belabor this point, but this is how we avoid confusion. To John's point earlier, is if we're all on the same page. And I don't know exactly what this is, and it is not for lack of effort on my part. It is not for lack of going out there.
I believe the last time we discussed this, I said I could not put a ribbon around it by myself. It's too big of a tree to reach around. Let me know. I can meet you out there. I never heard anything. You said you talked to John. Did that clarify your question, or?
No, it didn't, because he was talking about a maple, and there are 4 trees along the road. And then he was talking about a limb on the oak, a different limb on the oak, on another oak. So no, I don't know. I'm not sure. It didn't clarify it. And I don't have an email from you, Jay, because I've got them all in one folder telling me that you would meet me out there at a certain time.
I don't think that was an email. I think it was the last park meeting. It was a communication verbally.
All right, well, you could try it one more time to meet up if that's possible. I mean, well, maybe not now with the COVID, but so we can straighten that out. I also have a question for John. You're muted, right?
Go ahead.
All right, you're good. Do you guys assist these, the tree, like M&M? You guys are on site when they do this stuff, or they
It depends what it is. Like, I look at costs. Like, there's some things, like, we'll tell him, hey, chip the brush, leave the big stuff. We'll clean the big stuff up.
Right, right.
I mean, it varies depending on where it's at. Usually he's out there, he'll take care of the stuff because his schedule is like he like the stuff at Kenilworth is probably a rainy day thing for him because it's on blacktop. So you can get the truck in and stuff like that. So I don't base my schedule off of Bob's, or like, you know, if he needs traffic control for something, typically we're out there for that. But other than that, no.
So anybody that quotes on these jobs, you give that assistance to them, tell them that, you know, if you need this or that, or we can do this and you can do that.
Anybody that quotes, I tell them the same thing on the as far as like Kenilworth, the other guy that came out and gave the quotes, hey, chip the brush, leave the big stuff, we'll clean it up.
Okay.
I try to keep apples to apples, and
sure,
that's the way it goes. So we're not like telling Bob we'll do things for Bob that we don't, you know. And the thing with Bob is usually if we have to get rid of stuff, it goes to our organic acres, where some of the other guys have to pay to get rid of this stuff. And we don't pay, the township doesn't pay to get rid of like the logs and the brush at our organic acres. So, but it's all apples to apples. I try to keep it, you know. Some guys at the lodge, we had Phil Woolman come in there, and his intention, this was several years ago, he was going to sell the lumber. Now that's up to him, the wood. You know, he was selling stuff to the mill. So we got a better price, whereas other guys weren't planning on doing that. So, but yeah, it's all apples to apples. We, you know, I look at cost wise, what's going to be the cheap. It's cheaper for us to go in and clean stuff up than it is to have a contractor who has to rent machines and stuff to get rid of the wood. So I try to get quotes based off of cost. What's more cost effective.
Okay. Thanks, John.
Yep.
So you don't think there's a need to have a line item on these quotes for removal?
I think you got to let me do my job and let me look
No.
at what I think is, going to be more cost effective. Like the parks, it's not open space. So if it takes us a month to get rid of the wood in a park and it's safe, let it sit for a month. Why pay somebody else to do it?
Well, I'm not saying pay somebody else to do it. I'm saying if it as a line item, you can always.
You could. You could, but if we go out and do it and we're saving the parks $1,500 by cleaning up wood or stuff like that, as opposed to wouldn't you rather keep the money in house?
I completely agree with you. My point is, if you get a line item, then you can say, like for example in this quote, and then a line item would be the cost to clean up. We can decline that line item and just have the removals and the pruning.
I honestly think what should happen here going forward is Parks and Rec should meet with I can give you the names of the tree you go out and you meet with the people and say, hey, this is what we want done. And then after you meet with them, you come to me and say, hey, John, this is what we're getting quoted. What do you think? Because I'm meeting with people 2-3 times over the same jobs because of questions that go on for 3 months. That's not fair to me. Like I need to know the scope that you want so I can meet with somebody, get it bid once, and we can move forward.
I agree with you, but I can't tell you what I want if I don't know what trees we're looking at.
Well, I think that's where,
the problem is not with
as a group with stuff like that, you need to get together as a group and maybe 3 of you meet and decide this is what we want done and report back to the rest. Because right now we're kind of playing whisper down the lane and we're going nowhere.
I don't disagree. We're going nowhere.
I think you have to figure out what you want as a committee, and then let me know, and we can go from there.
I like the one thing you said, John, about people meeting together at the trees to make a decision and then let you know. And people that have knowledge about trees are the people that ought to be doing that. I agree with what you said.
I also think I have to be able, if there's a hazard somewhere and I see it, I can't wait a month or 2 months to get an okay. Like, hey, if there's a hazard, we need to remove it like now.
Absolutely.
John?
I think a little cleanup in house there and we can make this work a lot smoother.
Yeah, I want to apologize for then suggesting to get another quote from that job. Okay, so
no.
Obviously, let me talk.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So, it's obviously made things more difficult for you. Yeah, I feel bad about that. So
I think at times we need to do that. Over history here, Bob's been the cheapest, but I think it's good. We need to get different quotes at times for different things.
It goes against what you just said. You don't need to be needing 2-3 guys for a job or something.
No, I don't mind
quote and run with it.
No, I don't mind doing that as long as I know what the scope is or what everybody's expectations are. So I can relay that to the 2 or 3 guys that we're getting quotes from, and not like, all right, hey, well, this changed. Now, if I say we want to quote to get everything cleaned up, now I have to meet with the 2 guys again. Hey, now quote this in again now for cleanup. I think it's good occasionally that we do get quotes from different people, but the scope needs to stay the same, so we're not, hey, this is the scope, this is what's going on, and we can get bids that are apples to apples.
You know what? Because of I'm not sure if I'm unmuted or not because I keep muting, but we can FaceTime. Jay, why can't we FaceTime even 2 or 3 people and go down to the park and say, this is the one I'm talking about, and whoever has a spray can, spray this stupid tree. This is the one we're talking about. All right, everybody sees it. This is the one we're talking about. So we all don't have to meet down there together. We're all talking right now, and most of you can see face to face. I can't, but we can FaceTime during this time and go down the park and get it taken care of sooner rather than later, can't we?
Anything could work better than what's happening now.
Well, then maybe we can plan it with 2 or 3 people I can take a walk down the park. I've got my phone. Tell me to go left or right. Here's the tree. Everybody look at it, mark it. And then it's kind of done, right?
Is
I
there
mean, we're all up
anyone who would
for
like to
trying
meet
new
at the
things
park?
here.
She don't even let anybody get in conversation.
Is there anyone who feels they need to meet at the park and look at the trees? That would like to meet as a group and do that?
Well, we can't meet as a group, but we can do it over the phone.
Well, we can meet as a group if we're 6 feet apart.
I'm willing to attend, though I admit that I'm not the person to make a decision about a tree, but I'm willing to attend if there is such a meeting.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Yes.
I would
Yes,
certainly like to be there, obviously.
I can be there as well. I think the major point is just to get it right this time, so we have
Yeah,
the process down moving forward.
right. I agree.
Okay, so that list would be,
I'll come. I'll bring the paint.
There you go. Is that Carl?
That's Vince.
That was Vince, but I'll bring an extra can, so we'll have it.
Okay. I can't
Colleen,
see. I'm trying to go by name, by voice.
Carl. Patty, were you on that list?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I'll go too. That means there's 6 of us.
You need 6 people to decide whether they're going to.
Would tomorrow work? In anybody's schedule? So
I can do tomorrow.
forward.
Yeah, I'm fine with tomorrow as well.
Any particular time of day?
If it's totally open, I'd love for it to be like between 1 and 3, so I don't have to drag my guys along.
Okay.
Though they would love to get out and run around, so actually anytime's fine.
1 o'clock?
1 o'clock's good.
I'm out. Take a picture for me.
Okay.
Hey, Carl, I think that you're probably a better judge of trees for certain than I am. So, don't work around my 1 o'clock.
Well, I'm working currently. I'm available. I've got a couple jobs where I don't have to deal with people, so I'm able to work 40-hour a week, 60-hour a week type of stuff still. So,
Well, when are you available, Carl?
I would be early morning or after 4 or 5 o'clock. So.
Yeah, Jay, if anyone else doesn't care, I think that's an appropriate thing to have Carl involved.
Okay, Carl, you want to pick a time?
How early in the morning, Carl?
As early as you want.
Whoa. Okay.
I go up until like 8:30, or any time after. I could go anytime after 3:30.
What's best for you if you're traveling and working?
Oh my God.
Now you guys make it up. I'm fine. Let's say 4 o'clock tomorrow.
4 o'clock.
Is that
Sounds
good
good.
for everybody?
4 o'clock Thursday. We'll meet at the Park Avenue access of Kenilworth Park.
Okay. 4 o'clock tomorrow.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
There you go.
Okay, we'll move on to River Bend Park. Cynthia, can you give us an update on the playground?
Sure. I mean, I don't know if you guys got my email, but there's been motion on it. It looks really great so far. Not everything's installed yet. We're thinking of waiting, or the Prairie Grove was thinking of waiting until everything is available or all the equipment is there. But I'm trying to order the therapeutic equipment, and it's been a little difficult only because some people aren't getting back to me quickly, and I'm sure that has to do with this pandemic. But also because I'm trying with our group to decide, should we purchase something that is a little less expensive, and I'm a little nervous about the quality of the material. So thanks to Colleen's suggestion, I'm waiting to get some pictures of a park that is nearby, but the lady hasn't gotten back to me yet. If it's something I can go visit, I will. Anyway, so I'm kind of in process of ordering the therapeutic equipment. The parks are closed anyway, though, right? So I don't think that there's.
With the current situation,
Yeah.
I would put the therapeutic stuff on hold.
Well, part of the issue, John, is getting all the installation done, all the mulching, getting the grass to grow before we open the playground. So it would be tough to put it on hold, get everything stabilized with the grass and seed, and then have to open it up with machinery again. So it's probably better just to keep it closed, get it done. Once it's done, once the grass is established, then be able to open it.
Yeah, I'm going to still hold my thoughts along that line that the therapeutic is way down on my list.
Okay.
So yeah, John, just so that we're on all on the same page, I certainly agree that we don't need to rush the therapeutic equipment, but I mean, it was a grant that was given, so I'm sure they're going to provide an extension if we even need it. It's not till next year. But what Jay was saying, I think, and I'm sorry I got kicked off again, but the therapeutic, the guy wanted to wait till everything else was there so he could put everything in at one time. So I guess I could tell him, like, look, we're not going to get the therapeutic equipment for quite a while, so go put the musical equipment in and hang up the swings now. I don't know, John, have you been in contact with Curry Grove by chance, and are they like trying to get the rest of it finished? Do you know?
Last I heard from Kevin that the rest of the equipment wasn't being shipped till April 20th. So
Okay.
to me, I think the playground stays closed until the stuff comes in. I mean, to open it and close it again, you know.
No, I mean, all playgrounds should be closed now for pandemic reasons.
So I don't even know if they're working, like, I don't, I'm not expecting till at least May to have the rest of the equipment installed, so.
Yeah, I completely agree. I guess my only question is, do you guys want me to move forward looking for the therapeutic equipment to just at least order it? Or, John, are you saying, or John Elwanger, I mean, are you saying don't even bother ordering it for now?
I believe we should move forward.
No, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe if we have the chance, we should move forward as much as we can. It's been put off for too long, and if we have the ability and the chance to move forward and look at this, even if it holds up to, starting the playground to put it in for a little bit, I think we should continue to move forward with it if we're able.
Okay.
I think we need to move forward. North Coventry Township has a very good reputation from grant funders. And even though we've asked for extensions many times in the past, we basically have a very good reputation. And if we would start not moving forward without necessarily need to not move forward, that can reflect poorly. So I think if we don't have a good reason when we can't move forward, good.
All right.
Sounds good.
Okay. So then you'll move forward with the rest of the task force and work on making that happen. Okay, Riverside Park, there's no report. Schenkel Park, I want to thank the Public Works for installing the boundary medallions on the corners of the Wilson parcel. So the parts that are now owned by the township have been marked for the boundaries. Okay, moving on to the programs. The festival will undoubtedly be postponed. There's just no way at May 17th we could have an event of that size. I guess the staff, the special events committee will have to discuss what's going to happen, recommendations from the state and the county, and but May 17th, I'm sure is off the table at this point. We'll have to see what direction that goes. We also have the ribbon cutting scheduled for May 2nd. At this point, the stay-at-home order only goes to April 30th, but I don't know that it would be prudent to have an event. I think we should postpone that and come up with a date when we can have better knowledge. Anybody have any thoughts on the ribbon cutting?
I'm okay. I'm fine with postponing it. I just wanted to reach out to John, and he did a good job. If anyone's been out there and look at the benches and the kiosks, should have mentioned that earlier. I'm sorry, but it's a nice job up there. So we'll have something. We'll have something nice to show when we do have the ribbon cutting.
Yeah, it's a great
Do we
job.
have to- Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was just,
Do we
John,
have to motion do we have to motion to postpone, or we're just doing it?
If you want to make a motion, you can. Do it
I
for me.
motion we postpone May 2nd until further notice.
Is there a second?
All in favor? Okay.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, so we'll have
Hey,
to.
Jay, shouldn't you do that for the festival too?
I was looking at that more as a special event committee item more than, but we can do so.
I mean,
Yeah.
they kind of fall under the purview of Parks and Rec, so the
Mhm.
recommendation probably should come from Parks and Rec Board.
Okay. Motion to postpone the May 17th festival and establish a rescheduled date at a later time.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
No.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Last thing on our agenda is the education. Unfortunately, the Timber Doodle program scheduled for March 13th was canceled.
we were going to have more than 50 people there,
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my word.
believe it or not. And that was just people that had registered.
Good for you.
So, yeah, it was pretty cool. Now, there's also a bird walk scheduled for May. I'm just planning on canceling that also because I think that we'll still be in this situation.
Well, hopefully
Yeah.
Timber Doodles will be a successful program in 2021.
Yeah. One of these years we'll see those timber doodles.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a shame. It was a beautiful day too.
Yep. All right.
Okay. May I first ask if there's any other comments from commission members?
I just have a couple questions, Jay, about the pandemic situation. Like our porta potties are still open, correct, in the parks? And if
Yes,
so,
there's been no action taken to, the restrooms at Hanover Meadows have been closed.
right.
But porta potties have not been addressed.
So they're still being serviced?
To my knowledge, there's
Okay.
been no notification that they have not been serviced.
Okay. And well, we can check tomorrow. I think that the porta potty at Kenilworth Park, I think the latch to the door is broken or missing or something the last time I was out there. So, and I forgot to mention it. But we can check tomorrow.
Did you call Alpine?
Did I call Alpine?
Yeah,
No.
there's a number there to call if you see anything wrong. You should call right away, especially if, I know I called about The hand sanitizer was all up,
Oh, I'm sure it got stolen.
and they came out and replaced it.
All right, I will check it tomorrow. Thank you. No, that's,
Yeah, that would be just like, a citizen doing it. I mean, not one of us. So, I mean, yeah, it should be fine to do that.
Yeah, anybody can call.
Right.
yeah. I just
and
wanted to make sure
report a
they,
problem.
I just wanted to make sure they were actually still being served.
Inside the door, there's a service list.
Good point.
Okay.
And then have we closed our other playgrounds like at Kenilworth or Riverside? And what are the thoughts of the commission about doing so?
What does that entail? Putting up a sign?
I think other townships have put caution tape around it, with signage for public health reasons.
Right.
I think closing playgrounds at this point is probably a good idea. The township office is closed, so you can't really get them to make signs at this point. As far as printing signs, I don't have a printer.
Don't we have one or two signs? I know we have the trails closed signs. Do we have any playground closed signs? John?
To my knowledge, we do not.
We do not.
Maybe that ought to be on a things to do signy list. Temporary signs.
Taping them off with caution tape would be sufficient. Everybody's going to know why they're taped off.
Are you kidding?
I know that's what other parks are doing. And certainly when you see it wrapped up in yellow tape, it's kind of
Kids like
obvious.
to go right through that yellow tape.
Well, it's up to the parents not to
Yeah.
let them do that.
Is that including the basketball court and tennis courts? That's because that's where kids are gathering.
You're gonna have to continue.
Well, tennis is a safe sport. I mean, you can play tennis with somebody and be at a safe social distance.
No,
That's different than playground.
I disagree. If it's going to close, there's also a basketball court there. If it's going to close, I think that should be part of it.
I saw 4 people playing tennis, two games of singles on each court.
Well, you're
Okay.
you're sharing balls there.
Yeah.
What was that?
You're sharing balls.
It's part of the playground. I think it's one and all. As far, in my
If
opinion,
they want
it's
to play
one and all.
basketball, yeah, playing basketball at home. Yeah, not at the park.
Right. Yeah, if we're gonna caution tape off the playground part, I think the gates should be closed at the tennis court and basketball court too. Anybody else?
I would agree. If one's closed, they all should be closed, I would assume.
I would disagree. Playgrounds are managed totally differently than athletic facilities.
It's part of the park, Jay.
Well, we're not closing the whole park, Colleen. I mean,
No,
my concern was the play structures because of all the touching that goes on, the climbing, the touching, the hands on that. And I know that Jim can weigh in on this more. I know that most other townships have closed their playgrounds for that reason. But for example, we can't close the basketball court at Coventry Woods. There's no way to close it off.
Right. Some places have actually taken them down, taken the baskets down so that kids don't gather and play there.
Well,
So I think
kids are going to gather anywhere in the woods.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, I think it's more of a gathering area than whether or not they're playing tennis or basketball. I think it's more of a gathering area for the kids. And that's where my concern's coming in.
And that goes for the disc golf course. That goes for the park benches. We should know, and the picnic tables and everything. Okay? You know, how far do you want to take it?
I think you got to take it all the way. I think that's what that's why we're all sitting at home. You got to stop the use of all the playgrounds need to be stopped.
Yeah, but the
And you
trails.
tape off, you tape off the stuff that you can tape off. You're going to stop.
But I hear the government saying, yeah, get out to the parks and walk the trails.
Walk,
So
exactly right.
all that does is just make everyone gather in a group, and they'll take a walk up in the trails. They've been doing that for years.
You're going too far, John. Walking is not making people go out and gather. What Jim and I are saying is, inside of a gated area, that is where kids are gathering and where they're going to gather. Closing off parts of the park and the playground where people gather is what needs to be done.
Right.
In my
Pavilions.
opinion. I mean, we're not talking about walking on the trail. So, you can take it too far if you want to, cordon off the entire park, but that's not what we're talking about. But an area where kids are going to gather, that is a part that should be, I think, taped off.
Playground equipment is designed to have a great deal of physical contact. That warrants closing those areas. A tennis court is designed for two people to be 40 feet apart and hit a ball with a racket that they brought from home.
Do they pick up the ball? Do they pick up the ball to serve it?
Yes, they do.
Then that's contact. That is contact.
It's a ball they brought from home. We don't supply
That's
the ball.
contact. That's even worse. That's contact. If each one of them is touching that ball after the other, that's contact.
Well, I think the issue here is I think, do we all agree on the playgrounds or not?
Yes.
I believe so.
Okay. And then the other question is, to what extent can we reasonably steps? We can't close the fishing dock where people could gather to fish. I mean, we have to do what we can and realize that we can't legislate whether or not people are going to gather inappropriately at this point. We just have to, be as sensible and as thoughtful as we can about this and do what we can. So, the playgrounds,
okay.
I'll agree on. The basketball courts and tennis courts, I guess we need to take a vote on. Is there anything else that we need to consider that anyone can think of?
Like
I don't think
said,
there's
the
any
pavilions. All the pavilions and the tables.
Okay, they're not enclosed. I mean, is that how far you want to take it? I'm talking about if you're playing tennis and you're playing basketball, you are coming in contact with the ball with several people. Okay, that's why I'm saying about the tennis court and the enclosed tennis court that's down at Kenilworth Park. There's no way you can cut off all the other ones, but that one is enclosed.
There's also the one at Riverside.
Which one?
The one by the boat dock.
Riverside Park has a fence around it, or most of it.
Yep, it's also enclosed.
I'm sorry, I'm cutting out. Riverside?
The porta pots are probably the biggest risk that we have in the parks.
I know.
Yeah.
That the playgrounds, the porta potties and the playgrounds, I think, are the two biggest risks. I
And
agree.
all the porta potties, we can put a lock on them.
Yeah,
or get them picked up and not pay rent.
Yeah,
that's even better.
and then pay the pickup and delivery charge.
We should take the toilet paper out of them first.
Yeah, yeah.
It's probably already gone.
Probably already gone.
Yeah.
The hand
Your own.
sanitizers and the toilet paper are all gone.
So does anybody else have any other input? Is this something that needs to be voted on? Is John the one who's going to caution tape everything off? And
Yes.
or not?
Yes, John is going to do it. You should have a vote, a recommendation to do it, and then we can move it forward sooner than our meeting on the 13th.
I
And
have
then-
one more question. I'm so sorry, Jim. I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's fine.
Is it up to Parks and Rec to make the decision to caution tape anything off, or is that a
Sure.
township decision? Because
Well,
this is coming down from.
You'll make the recommendation, and then we'll tell John to do it. And we probably should have done this already. The board could have taken action on their own to do this. I think it's helpful that you guys make a recommendation, and then tomorrow I'll shoot an email around and say, listen, we're going to instruct John to tape off the playgrounds and whatever else you decide here. And, you know, I can support that by saying, here's the recommendation by Parks and Rec. Does everybody agree? And then John will move forward. And then we'll recap this at our meeting on the 13th, but it's something that needs to be done sooner than later. And under the emergency declaration, we can take that action.
So we can make a recommendation, but the actual decision is coming down to the township and the Board of Supervisors, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but the action is based on the recommendation given to us by the Parks and Rec. And then we'll instruct John to go ahead and do that as soon as he can.
And is there a motion to make a recommendation to close the playground structures at Kenilworth and Riverside Parks?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
Are we deciding that when you say playground, you're talking about the actual structure? The actual one piece of structure or two pieces that are there? We're not talking about playground as in, you said athletic area, which would be the basketball court and tennis courts.
I believe we're just talking about the playground structure, the kiddie toys,
Structure.
if you will.
Okay. All right.
And generally, playground is considered everything in that usage area. So you have your border, your safety surface, the structure, everything in that usage area is considered the playground.
Okay.
Now, it may be easier just to rope off, caution tape the equipment rather than putting posts in. And I think we can, again, leave that up to John to make a rational decision of the best way to do it.
Oh, no, my question for that was determining what was considered part of the playground, as in basketball
Colleen-
court and tennis courts.
Colleen, if you
So-
feel strongly that it should be something additional, you can always make a motion and we can
Yeah,
take.
that's why I was asking. That's why I was asking what was included in that motion. But I also am motioning for the Kenilworth Park tennis court and basketball court to be caution taped off. I'll motion that.
Okay, what about Riverside Park's basketball court?
Okay, Riverside Park basketball court.
So your motion includes Riverside's basketball and Kenilworth's tennis.
Tennis and basketball, yes.
Is there a second? Okay. It doesn't appear there is, Colleen.
All right.
But thank you for sharing your thoughts. Okay, are there any comments? I know we have some members of the public that are not commission members. Does anyone else have comment? Okay, well, if there's no other comments, then
One more thing. Carl, how is the D gate? What's going on with the D gate? And I only ask because the footbridge now has a hole through it at Coventry Woods.
Okay, I'll go look at the debris or the I will go look at the walkway there that has a hole in it, and I'll try to mend that up. I'll go look at that tomorrow. The D gate, I told Jay I would take care of. We just really, Jay, I guess this occurred at the beginning of all this mess where we can't really meet up, but the only hindrance is how big to make it. Are we just going to do one, or are we going to do two that are offset? It's a fairly wide road bridge there. It's 14 or 15 feet wide, I think, if I remember correctly. I measured it once many, many months ago. So my question is, how much do we want to leave for pedestrian traffic beyond the length of the gate? John, is there a standard issue there? Does anybody know, Jay? 4 feet, 5 feet? If you go to 6 feet, someone can get a small car through there probably. I don't know.
Generally, in that type of a width, you would have one from each side. So if you're coming from St. Peter's Road, would be the first gate, and then the offset gate would be like if you were coming from the lodge on that side of the road or that side of traffic. And they should either come close together, like if it's a 14-foot hole, each gate should be 7 feet, or each gate should be at least 6 feet. There shouldn't be a large area in between, because that would create a hazard, in the sense that somebody would see that hole, person on a bicycle goes speeding through it, catch the handlebars, and we created that hazard by making a narrow hole. You almost need to close it off, so they need to slow down and actually make the turns. That
Okay,
would
so
be the recommended standard.
so we're set on 2 gates, not 1.
Correct. For that setting, we would need 2.
Okay.
Can I just something? We need to make sure we have at least 9 foot over that bridge to be able to get equipment in and out. Preferably, I'd like to see 10. So that might, play into what you want to do there.
I think we definitely do have 10. I mean, when the gates are open, you've got more than 10, so we're good there.
And I think, I don't know if that would ever be considered ADA, but I think you need a minimum of 4 foot for ADA, just to keep that in mind for an accessible path.
Okay. With an offset gate in the width we have, that's no problem.
If you want to meet sometime, I don't know how freaked out you are about this, but just let me know, and I can meet you down there to take a peek at it.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to take a look at that bridge tomorrow if I can repair that.
Okay.
All right, I'll take a look at that in the morning hours. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And actually, regarding the footbridge, I mean, maybe we need to look at just redecking that. I think structurally it's sound. It's the horizontal decking that we've had boards replaced before, and it has 2 or 3 boards that need replacing now. Maybe it'd be good just to redeck the whole thing with plastic lumber, and then that ongoing maintenance isn't going to be so much of an issue. A lot of people speak very highly of walking across the bridge, having that look at the water. If it was structurally unsound, I'd say we should definitely get rid of it. I don't think it is. I think it's just the boards, but that's something, when you're out there, if you could look at that and get your thoughts together for recommendations.
I will just make it safe for right now, and then we'll go from there.
Let me know, Steve. I may have some lumber laying around, so I don't know. This is the first I know about it, but let me know. We might have stuff laying around rather than buying stuff. Or I'm not in tomorrow, so but give me a call or whatnot and let me know.
All right, thank you, John.
So, John, regarding your concerns about the width, the D-gate posts would be set at the width of the bridge. So if the bridge now is 12 feet, even with the D-gates open, it's still going to be 12 feet.
Okay.
So that it wouldn't, you shouldn't lose anything, or certainly not more than just a couple inches, depending how you position the post, but virtually nothing.
Good.
Okay, well, if there's no other comments, and I thank everybody for their time this evening, and is there a motion to adjourn?
Heck yeah.
Second on that, heck yeah?
There you go.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, good night, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you. Thanks for
night.
setting this up. Good
Yep.
night.